Hello everyone, this is Mrs. Aiken again, and I am going to be your tour guide through Unit 3, Decimals. Yes, we are going to learn all things decimals on this Unit 3. This is kind of going to be a very big and broad overview, and we are going to talk about the most important things that you are going to need throughout this very, very big unit. This is what I like to think about when I think about decimals. It's something that I think about every day, actually, and it's something probably that you think about a lot as well. If you will get rid of all of the scary things that you think about when you think about decimals, and think about something that you know about every day, like money. Decimals are money. We use decimals every day. When you think about the number 21 and 35 hundredths, that seems like a kind of a scary number, right? But if you think about it as $21.35, you might think about it as the price of the t-shirt that you bought the other day. So it's not that big of a deal. Really, 35 hundredths is just 35 pennies, right? Or 3 dimes and 5 pennies, okay? So keep that in mind as we go along. Decimals are like money, all right? But we have a lot to go on from there. There's a lot of things that we are going to add on to as 5th graders. And so we are going to talk a lot about that. The very first thing that you are going to need and that you are going to use the entire time we are in this unit is a place value chart. And your teacher is going to give you one of those and help you to make one every single lesson that we are together. You will need to have one of these. If you don't have one, then all you need to do is just make one. With a piece of notebook paper, you can turn on the side and use the lines to make a place value chart. You don't need a fancy one. I used a plastic sheet cover and put this one in so I can reuse this with an Expo marker. You can also put it in a gallon-sized Ziploc bag if you don't have a plastic sheet protector. It works just as well. That way you can wipe it off and you don't have to keep erasing it over and over again. So you will need a place value chart for this. Notice that it's not just your baby tens, ones, and hundreds anymore. We have the decimal symbol with tenths, hundredths, and thousandths. And that's what we are working on this week and the weeks beyond when we are in our decimal unit. The way we are going to when we plug in a number, using a place value chart with this, it helps us to read the number correctly. Anytime we get to the decimal, we are not going to say point. We are going to say and. So, for example, let's say that I wrote in the price of our t-shirt earlier. Oops. 21. Okay. So, using a place value chart, it helps us to read these numbers correctly, because what we are going to discover today is that we write any number the way it sounds. So we have to say these numbers out loud. Okay, boys and girls? So we start to the left and we read to the right, just like you would in language arts class. Okay? So we say 21 and 35 hundredths. That's the last box. So whatever our last box is, that's the last word we say. So 21 and 35 hundredths. So using a place value chart is going to be so important, okay? And we can continue to use these with any number. So let's just start plugging in and you can play with these. Okay, I'm just making this up as we go, okay? All right, so now I've written 3,000. Anytime we come to it, this is called a period. Isn't that funny? Just to keep everyone real confused. Anytime we come to a comma, these sections in math, the millions, period, the thousands, period, and the ones, period. That's so confusing. Thanks a lot, whoever came up with that. But that's what they're called. So anytime we come to a comma, we say what that period is. So 3,298 and, we don't say point, 3,298 and 781. Oh, that's our last blank. So we say that name. So 3,298 and 781 thousandths. Okay? Thousandths. All right. Now, let's try another one. Okay. Let's try just making things up. Okay. Now, let's read this one. 321 and 9. Oh, that's our last blank. So we say tenths. 321 and 9 tenths. All right? So that's how we read our place value chart. And that's how important it is to have with us this whole time. All right? Because when we start comparing decimals, which we will in this unit, it's very important that we do that. Now, I am also going to help you with your activity page on 121. So if you'll turn to your activity workbook on page 121 for this lesson, I will help you with that. What we're going to do today is practice converting between forms of numbers. And we are going to talk about a vocabulary word, expanded form, okay? An expanded form is when we stretch that out, okay? So it's explained better to you in your OLS lesson. So that's what I want you to do, is I want you to make sure that you pay really close attention in your OLS lesson 3.01 today, because there's a lot of great information for you. So go back in there and make sure you do that. Now, Jessica is converting, which converting means that she's changing 40. Oh, let's read that together as a group. How do I read that? 4902. How would I read that? Because that's how it sounds. What it sounds like is also how it is written. Okay? And that's important for this lesson. So let's read this together. Okay? 49 and, oh, this, we don't say this because it's a 0. So 49 and 2 hundredths. That's how we would read that word, or that number. 49 and 2 hundredths. Okay? So she's converting or changing 49 and 2 hundredths to expanded form. She begins by filling in a place value chart, which we did because we're smart like Jessica, okay? All right, so we're going to write 49 and 2 hundredths in expanded form as a sum. So expanded form would be 40, right? plus 9, because it's a sum, plus 2 hundredths, right? Now, they want us to use products of the powers of 10. What is happening? Well, have no fear. That's why Miss Aiken is here, okay? Now, here's another little tip for you as a 5th grader who has also had some experience with fractions in 4th grade. This is what this means. We're still going to say, okay, 4 times 10, okay, because that's what that means. And we're going to use our grouping. We're going to use our grouping skills from Unit 2. 4 times 10 plus 9 times 1. Now, these are powers of 10 here, aren't they? We're using the power of 10 to turn this into 40. Okay, we're using the power of 1. We don't need a 0 behind it to turn this into 9. Well, what in the world are we going to do over here? Because this isn't even, that's not a whole number. Have no fear. We're going to say 2 times, what can we make this sound like? 1/100th. Well, I know how to write that as a fraction because I went through 4th grade and I had some awesome 4th grade teachers. There we go. Right there. That's how I'm going to do that. Okay, so using the power of 10, I turned this into 40. I turned this into a 9, and I turned this into 2 hundredths. This is 2 hundredths, and this is 2 hundredths, right? And if I add all that up together, I get 49 and 2 hundredths. Okay, well, let's try to do the opposite. Next, Jessica tries to write in standard form. Standard form means numbers. Expanded form means we stretch it out. Standard form means numbers. So now we just do the exact opposite, like I just did up here. 5 times 100 is 500. 4 times 1 is 4. 8 times 1/10. Well, that's 8/10, right? If we want to turn 8/10, the fraction, into the decimal, that's 8/10. And then 7, times 1/1000th. How would I write 1/1000th? Well, I go over here to my place value chart, and I put a 1 here. Well, that's pretty empty over here, so I have to write zeros until I catch up to my decimal point. Do you see how I did that? So I would read that because the last blank is what you say, remember? So 1,000th, okay? 1,000th. So I'm going to say 1,000. Actually, no, I'm going to say 7,000 because I had to multiply that by 7. Okay? So now let's put it all together. 500 plus 4 is 504, right? And then I have to put a decimal there. And 8/10. I don't have anything in the hundred spot, but I do have a 7,000. All right. So that's expanded and standard form. All right. We'll see you on the flippity flop. Make sure you ask any questions of your teachers. We're here to help you. Thank you and bye-bye.